Hey guys, welcome to another Trade Genius podcast. Bob and Phil here, as always. Guys, a lot of stuff going on heading into the weekend. Markets ended a very red week. We got conflicts going on in the Middle East. We're going to talk all about it and what this means for this market, because how you deal with this is going to be changing in the next coming weeks. You're not going to want to miss this. Let's dive in.
Trade Genius.
Okay, Bob. So we not only ended the week kind of in a red crescendo, although we did pop a little bit into the close, but then we also had the news that Israel was now beginning their ground invasion into Gaza, and then we have Iran attacking some of the United States bases, and there's going back and forth there. It's like, so what do you think? Are we just getting into like a big global conflict, or is it a regional conflict, and how is that affecting what we trade going forward?
Yeah, the thing that has struck me is, and I'll talk about those things in detail, is that the geopolitical risk agenda is back on. Because if we've noticed over the last couple of weeks, it's that certain setups happening Thursdays into Mondays, and I'll get to those in a second. And really, obviously, what's behind the scenes here is that the Russia-Ukrainian war has just been taken off the stage, and now everything's Israel-Palestine. Now, if it was just Israel and Hamas, and even to a lesser extent Hezbollah going at it, really wouldn't affect our markets too much because it's really it's kind of isolated. But with Iran, Turkey, and Russia in the picture, it turns into something much, much more. And I think the world is feeling that, if you will. And if you notice, certain assets were elevated at this point. And I think because people are waiting for the next shoe to drop. And I think that's what people are worried about. And I think also too, Phil, we're not going to really look at the SPY chart today, is that we were expecting down to this 411 area. In fact, you told everybody yesterday, and yesterday I expected, basically a turnaround into the weekend. You said, hey, there's a magnet down here. We're probably going to go down and do an overthrow below that support level in that 410, 409 area. And we did, and we popped back over it. So one of two scenarios is going to happen. Either the war expands, and then I think we're going to go down and test that 4,000 level you talk about, or we now go into a normal his Fed week and we see a potential reversal because of, I think the breadth readings that you're going to be sharing with our newsletter clients will probably show that it's probably pointless to short the market more, and there might be a relief bounce here. But let's get to the story at hand. Israel decided now it's time for them to start the ground incursion. And that is the signal, I think, that Iran and Turkey and Russia said they're going to get more, and Syria are going to get more engaged. And that's going to bring the United States into deeper conflict, because we're already now fighting the Iranian proxies in Syria. And I think it's going to probably expand to Iraq. And we may even go kinetic with the Iranians themselves. And that should probably give people some ill ease here, because the Iranians aren't going to fight this thing straight up with us. And we talked about this before. The people that are in charge of Iran are Shia Muslims of the most fanatical nature. And what I mean by fanatical, I don't mean that derogatorily. I mean that they are true believers. And that their belief is that if they could help usher in the 12th Mahdi, which would end the world, they'll do so, even if that means helping to end the world. So the thing I always talk about in the rooms is I worry about Iran more than anybody else. Every other madman in the world is rational in nature, in that they want to maintain power and life so we can have a reasonable deterrent against them. But these people don't believe that, and you can't fight them the same way. And so I could see things happening on our shore that would really tank the markets. So now, knowing all that, you go into Fridays now a little bit concerned. And so if we look at, I think the first chart you have is the gold chart. So gold here is really interesting, because gold, with the dollar going down, gold really hasn't been blown up like it has in the past. And people don't realize the Wayback Machine, when markets were a little bit more functional, gold and the dollar moved together about 1/4 at a time. And we're in those situations where that's applying again. And so we got the gold futures here broke over 2,000 today, Phil, and it's had a nice run up. And if you notice, gold has been doing quite quite well. I think there's a weekly chart I have up, and I think gold bottomed when the attacks in Gaza and southern Israel began. And so people are looking at safety trades here. Also, TLT has really stopped going down. So maybe the bond market's going to get a more natural bid. And then the one that we always talk about on Fridays, right? Short the market, go long oil, go long gold. And we got the crude oil markets here too. We talked about oil here in the past. Oil on Fridays are great. And you usually buy oil on Thursday, you sell it on Monday, and you buy it again on Thursday. And it's been a good trade. But here we're setting up this nice cup and handle as a weekly chart. And we're looking for a move here that will take us over $100, $110, $115 in crude if we break through that recent high. And I believe that that's the case.
Hey guys, if you guys don't mind, head over to tradegenius.co. Check out our specials we have over there. There's a number of different specials with different packages for all different experience types. If you're more into education, we have a package for that. If you just like to get into the room, primarily, we have a package for that as well, where you can see where we're calling out trades and things like that live, and also posting signals into our Discord signal rooms. So check it out, tradegenius.co. Appreciate you doing that.
There's a Saudi conference today. The Saudi oil minister said that it's very smart what ExxonMobil's doing, is very smart what Chevron's doing. And they feel that what they're doing as well, he said there's not enough production for the demand out there. So we're going to see crude oil move higher, Phil. So we got the war trade set up again. And I think it's important for people to have positions in gold, in oil. Bitcoin already kind of made the move here. I think it needs to digest, as we talked about. And then with the markets going into the weekend, you want to be light as possible because you don't know when the shoe's going to drop. And remember, you usually get a lot of the rage over the weekends in these environments. So before we kind of move on from there, I'm going to throw it back to you and get any further comments.
Yeah, I think we're going into a new basically regime here in terms of what's going to perform. I think what's interesting about gold is that not only is that chart breaking out, if you look at it, you essentially are having like a monthly reversal breakout situation here. Very powerful move. So I think those previous swing highs up there near 2100 are back on the menu. And I think as long as we have this conflict going on in the Middle East, I think you're going to have bid pressure on it. The question also came back to Bitcoin, was that going to be the case with Bitcoin? I don't know, because, we don't have enough history. We don't have enough information, what we call market generated information. We just don't have enough of that to know for sure. I know we had a coordinated short squeeze that happened and it popped everybody. But that relentless bid that we had for about 3 or 4 days straight there has all of a sudden gone real quiet. So we're going to see, if that was just kind of that event in and of itself and it starts to roll back off or what. But as of, before today, I think gold and Bitcoin were somewhat correlated, but gold was a lot stronger than Bitcoin today in the move. So that remains to be seen. Crude oil, for me, it's like whenever we get into this situation, I'm always like a crude oil bull. So I think it really comes down to, Bob, in my opinion, how out of hand this gets in the Middle East. You've got Israel obviously doing the ground invasion. I mean, it looked like another version of shock and awe that we saw with Baghdad. When I first started seeing some of the videos come in, it looked like it was a pretty heavy pounding there. So they're not fooling around. They want to completely erase Hamas. Not going to get into the politics of that, but that's the situation. So my point is it's getting real fast. Then you have Iran trying to drone different U.S. base or outposts in the Middle East, and then the U.S. struck back the other night with an air attack, and now they're striking back again. We just saw some headlines before we went on the air. So we've got, a very, I would say, hot situation over there. So does it get out of hand and does it expand and does this thing become beyond regional, right, into more of a global conflict, a soft World War III type of thing? We don't know. I don't think people are into mutually assured destruction stuff, but I think what you could have kind of a soft WW3 type situation. And what comes of that, maybe there's some powers that get destabilized. All through that, though, if we go that route, I think gold and oil will perform. So that's my view on it. But again, like everything else, you kind of have to just take it week by week and see how things are escalating. But I think you'll know if things are starting to escalate, then you're going to stay long oil, you're going to stay long gold. How the markets react from that, I don't know. What's compounding this on the market side of things is we're also rolling over into what we think is a recession trade. And that means at some point bonds are going to get bid too. Now, will bonds get bid if we are into, let's just say we go full on wartime economy? Is bonds going to get bid? I don't think naturally they are, because then where's the demand going to come from if some of your demand comes from countries that aren't down with what you're doing? So then what's going to happen? The Fed's probably going to get involved and we're going to go back to some sort of QE. That's where gold really goes ballistic. And then Bitcoin guaranteed follows along and has an excellent run, because QE into those assets, it's going to make it run, especially with this particular setup. So it's an interesting environment. We got multiple things going on. How that affects the recession remains to be seen, but it's very hard to predict until we, see a couple, 3 weeks of what's going on over there. And if it escalates, we're not in Kansas anymore, Bob. And I think these two plays are going to play out incredibly well over the next few months.
Yeah, and I think, Phil, head gold wins, tail gold wins in this
Right.
environment now, because it's that if we maximize the inflation trade, people are going to buy gold because QE is going to be informed. And if we start to falter, the Fed's going to get involved and we're going to have the QE trade again. So
Right.
Either way, the Fed's going to have to engage this market.
Yep.
I'm surprised that tech was up today, which was really ironic.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for me, I'm long bonds, I'm long the gold trade, I'm long the oil trade. And for the market itself, I'm really just trading it with SPY and the volatility indexes, as we swing back and forth. And that brings up a point I want to make too, because people get confused. Some people do on our podcast here, because we're trying to share a macro picture, but most people that listen don't use the service, so they have no idea. Just because we may talk macro bear, but we could be 2 to 3 weeks bull, and vice versa. We see a potential rally coming. We think it's in your best interest to know it's coming. We also think that maybe that rally may be a mirage. We think you need to know that too. But at the end of the day, we use our algorithms and levels to advise us as to how we trade. And we thought maybe just throw some slides up there. I know some people on the podcast through how they're doing with us and also in our room. And I'll just let you guys read it. But, we put trades out every day, and some people follow those trades religiously, and people always say, well, how do those trades work for you if you just follow them religiously? Which I don't really want you to do. I want to teach how to trade. But here's one person say how he's done with us, and this is just this week that comment came by, and he's up quite well, and he's very religious about how he does it, very structured, and he follows all the trades, good and bad, and this is how he's performed. And then you see the person above has been trading with us for almost 10 years, and he's slow and steady. You take all the trades, you're gonna win over time, because the algorithm does work. And I think there's a couple other ones out there too from the podcast. I don't know if you captured those or not, Phil, but we have some guys that are following our trades that are doing pretty well as well, that have commented in the last couple of days on the podcast. You can read those comments.
Yeah. So guys, if you're interested, head over to tradegenius.co and check out our specials over there. We got a few different types depending on what you're interested in. We also have some training material if you're interested about what this bear market is going to look like if we roll over into it, and the key indicators for that, as well as when it would end. We have a bear market course. And if you're really wanting a guide that's kind of day in and day out as far as what the next day is going to bring us as far as important levels and how to trade it and the approach on that, we have our newsletter that deals with that specifically. So all of that's over on the website. Check it out, tradegenius.co. And other than that, Bob, I think that's going to do it. So thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Set it to all if you can. We'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.
Trade Genius.